Welcome to the Lost and Found in the Philippines podcast. Get ready for a fun and wild ride as we explore finding love in the Philippines. Join your host as he shares his experience from 7 nearly month-long visits. He will cover what to know before you go and how to get prepared for your trip. You will also get some tips to help you think through what type of person you hope to meet and how to find them. Let's get ready to get lost and found in the Philippines. Here is your host, Trevor Williams.
Welcome back, everybody. Trevor here again. Hope everyone is doing well and is having a great week so far. So for this week's episode, we're going to talk more in depth about the people of the Philippines, particularly the women. We will also flirt with the idea of if you're ready and wanting to date a Filipina. So I do not lose anyone in the future. Philippine women are also called Pinay and Filipina. It may be very helpful to keep a notebook and write down certain things and make notes, if that's something you normally do to help you remember things. It can save a lot of time and hassle of not being able to remember everything, or you can just replay the episodes again. Completely up to you. I will be asking you questions to try to help get a better idea of what people could be looking for. The cool thing about the Philippines is that anyone could pretty much find whatever they're looking for, and there are tons and tons of women to choose from. In my opinion, it is highly inadvisable that you go to the Philippines or anywhere outside the United States without knowing someone first. The very last thing anybody should want to do is have that mindset and go over to the Philippines and meet someone on the street or in a bar or anywhere and hope for the best, only to find that they're just being used for who and what they are. In the Philippines and probably other countries as well, Americans are assumed to be very wealthy, and I have seen firsthand by not knowing someone before you meet them can spell big trouble on your wallet. The fact that I truly feel the best way to get to know someone is communication, obviously, and when you are thousands and thousands of miles apart, you only have 2 options, and that is either through phone, if you can afford it, or through the internet. For one reason, if they can't be patient and get to know you first, then it's probably not worth your time. As long as they are not stringing you along, you truly get to know the person and see how patient and how much they really do want to meet you. You can learn about who they are and about their family and really build a strong foundation for your relationship together. It also gives you a chance to experience their moods, even though being halfway around the world from each other would not help anyone's mood. But the fact that you might not be immediately next to them, the main thing that matters most is that you are there with them and for them if they ever need to talk or they need support or even a little cheering up if they are sad. You can be that person, at least in some form. Some of the apps that are used in the Philippines for chatting are WhatsApp, Line, Viber, Skype, and sometimes Messenger. Some Filipino are very careful who they give their messenger out to since it has a direct link to their Facebook, and that means possible access to their family and friends. You might just have to be patient before asking for her messenger account. Never in all my travels have I been to a place more welcoming of having me visit. The Filipino people are the most incredible people I have ever met. At least in my experience, everywhere I go when I'm there, everyone is extremely nice, welcoming, and polite. When out and about at restaurants and bars, you get greeted with sir and sometimes get called boss. Like, what can I get you, boss? I've heard of cases to where they will invite strangers into their homes to eat with them. I've never had that happen to me before. Some women and people in general must move to the city to make money and send it back to their families. Some move overseas and never see their families for years at a time. But they do that to help provide for their family. It's the way of life in the Philippines. If you do the research, you can see and learn that a lot of people who live in the Philippines work abroad. I've spoken to a couple of them who have not seen their children in years. Be blessed for the life you live, that your family has always been around and you grew up with a mom or a dad, hopefully both. The Filipino people are not guaranteed that luxury as some of us here in the United States sometimes takes for granted. Even though they have no choice, they are the most appreciative, God-fearing people in the world. They're extremely humble and caring, whether you think you are overweight, underweight, or even unattractive. Filipinas do not care about any of those things, at least the true ones don't. As long as you have a pure heart and pure intentions, they believe that in a relationship that it is their duty to take care of their man and keep him happy. That should also be your mindset going into this if you were thinking of finding a Filipina to date. Also, as a disclaimer, before I go any further, do not take Filipino people for granted. As long as you are nice to them, they will stay nice to you. If they feel you're trying to take advantage of them or use them in any way, be ready for a complete change of attitude on their part. I once saw on the streets of Makati a guy who we are just going to call Bob. Apparently Bob was drunk and didn't like a guy being around a Filipina that I'm guessing was either a girl he liked or his girlfriend. So Bob started to go towards the man, and suddenly it went from Bob and that one Filipino to Bob and 5 Filipinos that started to help him beat Bob to the ground and then constantly kick poor Bob in the stomach and the head. The girl came to his aid and helped him up, and as he was walking down the street, I could see the blood coming out of his nose and what looked like his forehead, and it was really bad. 5 minutes later, it was as if it never happened. Crazy. The moral of the story is, it took Bob probably stitches and most likely a broken nose and maybe other injuries to learn that the people in the Philippines are not easily bullied, and if pushed far enough, they will react, and you will not enjoy what's going to happen next. So I say this, Bob was uneducated and thought he could bully Filipinos. Regarding the women, most Filipinas can be very shy and are scared to message American guys first. Don't think if she doesn't message you, she doesn't like you. She could be very shy or overwhelmed and is afraid of saying the wrong thing, perhaps because she feels her English is not that great and making you think badly of her. Truth be told, there are many Filipina that think they don't speak that great of English. And sadly enough, they speak better than some people that were born here. Being a Westerner, Filipinos love the fact if you even know a little bit of Tagalog. Tagalog is one of the local Filipino languages and one of the main dialects. The best way to show a Filipina you are serious about her is showing you have interest of learning her language. Learn about the culture and ask her questions. If you show you are interested in her culture and learning her language, it helps prove that you are truly serious about her. The more you know shows her that you really do care about the Philippines and about her. Above all, take it one step at a time and you will be just fine. Once in a relationship, you are the only thing that matters to them. Making and keeping you happy is their drive in life. Especially being an American, you are giving them a chance to be with you, and they feel that is the greatest gift that they have ever been given. As I have said, they're a very humble people, and they already are having a very tough life as it is. I am going to be completely honest with what I'm about to say. Most Filipina are raised to make sure they take care of the family and definitely their man in every way. I've dated a few American women and they are nothing compared to being in a relationship with a Filipina. That's probably why I'm so obsessed with that country. A subscriber to the YouTube channel sent me a message and asked that I talk about my first trip to the Philippines on the podcast. So here we go. That trip involved me meeting my ex-wife, so this will be pretty exciting. I left on February 11th, 2011. I went from Columbus, Ohio to Chicago, Illinois. Upon getting seated, I had a very unusual person who was sitting next to me, who was wearing a mask that a lot of us are wearing today. She was Asian, but not Filipina. We were all sitting there in the plane waiting for them to back up and start taxiing. The pilot kept getting on the intercom telling us that they are having power issues and that we will be on our way in a few minutes. They kept shutting off all the power and turning it back on about 3 or 4 times. We must have been on that plane for about an hour, maybe 2, just waiting. Finally, they came back on the intercom and told us that they were unable to fix the plane and that we had to all deboard. Mind you, there were about 608 passengers. After getting off the plane, they told us that they will put us up in hotels and get us on the flight the following morning. Obviously, they didn't think about the people already scheduled to be on that flight. Everyone was upset, and so some of us accepted the fact, and some of us scattered to find another connecting flight. Some of us got flights to Denver, flights to Dallas to try to get away to Tokyo. But I ended up getting flown to Los Angeles and had to stay the night there. I didn't mind that just because I have never been to LA and I've always wanted to. I remember taking photos from the airport to the hotel of what I was seeing. It was still very exciting for me. Just was really disappointed to lose out on a day in the Philippines. From there, I had a layover in Tokyo where I had thought I lost my passport. I remember being overcome with fear and started going through all my stuff, and eventually I found it in one of my pockets on my backpack. I was so relieved, and that is when I discovered different flavors of Kit Kats. Upon going to the restroom, I discovered also bidets. I was never aware of a bidet until then. In Tokyo, they have toilets that look like urinals built into the floor, and I just found that very weird. I even took a video of that. Finally, landing in Manila, I went outside and was very nervous as it was dark. If I remember correctly, it was around 10:30 at night, and I wasn't sure where to go because unlike here in the States, before you even leave the airport, there is a point where people are waiting for you. In the Philippines, there is 4 different terminals. Terminal 1, they are not allowed inside the airport for arriving passengers. If you just landed, you have to leave the airport and walk a ways to where people are allowed to wait for you. It was very nerve-wracking, but as I was walking down the ramp, I immediately saw her, and I still remember to this day the purple dress she was wearing, and she looked so beautiful. And we got in a taxi and headed to my hotel. The following morning, we headed to Boracay to spend Valentine's Day for 2 nights and 3 days. While in Boracay, we had a candlelight dinner on the beach, and it was February 14th. While we were eating, they were shooting off fireworks from a ship out in the water. It was very breathtaking. If I had known then what I know now, I would have left her in Manila and I would have went to Boracay by myself and would have found somebody else. But you don't get everything you want. On the flight back to Manila is when I was prompted with my first red flag that there is something not right. I asked her, "What do you want to do when we get back?" She responded, "I have to go home because my family doesn't know you're here. They don't expect you for a few days. They can't know." And I questioned, "Why do they not know I'm here?" And she just said that they would not have wanted her to go to Boracay with me. I felt so irritated and upset. I flew all that way, and she was pretty much telling me that I will be by myself in the hotel in a strange country I have never been before. But I dealt with it, and she left me and went home and came back when I was supposed to arrive according to what she told her family. I met them and they took me to Tagaytay, which was very amazing, and I got to zip line across the valley next to a volcano of all things. It's very beautiful there. The times I was visiting with her family and it was time to go back to the hotel, they would drop me off and I would say goodbye to my girlfriend, and she would eventually have her family take her to work and drop her off. She would go inside the building, wait for them to leave, and then get in a taxi and head over to my hotel. I felt so wrong about hiding that, but she told me that is the only way for her to be able to come over and spend time with me. When it was time to leave and go back to the airport to catch the flight, I remember having a hard time keeping it together when I was saying goodbye to her family. We had spent a lot of time together and we had a lot of fun. They had a karaoke machine. We'd stay up almost all night singing and drinking. It was loads of fun. That is one thing about Philippine people. They love their karaoke. But that's not all the adventure I had. Nope, can't be that easy. The next layover for me was in Shanghai, China. And that short layover is why I will pay more money to avoid a flight that connects me to China. So here's what happened and what I learned about Shanghai. When getting off the plane, you have to go through immigration, and there was long lines, and I did not have that long of a layover. So again, I was back to being frustrated, and luckily there was another passenger who obviously did not have that long of a layover either. He was forcefully trying to get to the front of the line. Finally, someone noticed him. He said he did not have that much time to catch his flight, and they asked if there was anyone else that had an immediate need to catch their flight. So I raised my hand and they allowed me to cut to the front of the line. After getting my passport stamped and through that part of the airport, there were a lot of signs I was having issues understanding. I tried to find people to ask where I needed to go, and there were some that were very rude. I finally made it to my gate, and I was so unbelievably thankful. I felt so much weight had been lifted off of me that I am almost home, and I just couldn't wait to step foot back on US soil. We're going to finish up the show this week by telling you where you can get your feet wet and talk to quite possibly some of the most beautiful women you will ever meet. I said talk, not date, not marry, not sign your life away, just casual conversation and see where it goes. If you don't want it to go anywhere, that's fine. There are plenty of websites out there saying you can find true love, friendship, anything you want. The options are endless. I have 2 websites that are my favorite. They have scammers, as every dating site will, so that's nothing new. Always be aware and set standards, as I have done in the past. Do not give money unless you have talked to the woman for at least a month. It is all based on how comfortable you feel or how truthful or serious she seems to be. The best way to protect yourself is not give or send money to anyone in your initial period of getting to know someone. If they are serious about you, they won't ask. Some women, you have to demand they accept your money. Otherwise, they will not. They would rather suffer than to inconvenience you by asking for help. There are a lot of stereotypes in the Philippines, and they are completely aware of that. So true women try to avoid being included in that category. The first website I would recommend is called Cherry Blossom. It's a really nice site, and they have a lot of search options such as height and weight range, children, education, drink, smoke, type of employment they have, religion, and even astrological sign. The downfall, they only allow you to view the profiles for free. Lastly, they do have public chat, which is a good feature based on how you look at it. They are currently having a special until the end of the month of September. I have no idea if they will extend it. It's giving you $12.22 off your membership. Memberships range from 1 month for $29.95 for your first month and then $19.95 each month after. That is before the discount they give you. They have 3-month, 6-month, and even 1-year memberships you can pick that give a lot better savings. You can find that site by going to www.blossoms.com. The second website would be Pinalov, spelled P as in Paul, I as in Iowa, N as in Nancy, A as in Alpha, and you know how to spell love. It's more basic, and you can actually respond and show interest for free. There is a catch. You can only send a message once every 10 minutes for free, but you're allowed to send all the interests you want. The only search options you have with this site is weight, height, age, children, and what type of education they have. The choices of memberships are $24.95 for each month, and like the other site, they have options for 3, 6, 12-month memberships that offer a better savings. You can find this site as well by going to www.pinalove.com. No spaces. When it comes to sending your first message, take a deep breath and always be respectful and polite. So let's make this very simple. When you find someone you are really interested in, you send a message like, "Hey, this is insert your name. I just read your profile and I love that you blank." That is where you try to find something in their profile that they wrote that can be associated with you, such as, you love traveling. Oh, I love traveling too. What are some places you would love to go? Things like that. You just associate your introduction to show that you have read their profile and you are sincerely interested. Then there are those Filipina who do not write anything in their profile. Those can be exciting because you don't know what they're doing and what their expectations and what they want from the site. With them, you can easily just say, hey there, how are you? That should be enough. If they are truly interested in you, they will respond. There are profiles online of people who took other people's photos. They are not the person you are talking to. So best way to find out is video chat. If there is delayed audio or it feels something is off and it seems maybe like a recorded video and not live, just disconnect and avoid being screwed over. Just trust your gut. A good percentage of true Filipinas will at least put something in their profile. But there's always that chance that she don't know what to write, and instead of fearing of writing the wrong thing, she leaves it blank. There could always be an explanation for why. Just be careful. Some responses you get might be very short. Do not take that as she's not interested. Take that as she doesn't know what to say. Do not lose hope. Just because the response is short, take it as a challenge to ask them something that will not have any choice but to respond more than one word. One thing I will leave you with before I say farewell: if you find one of those most beautiful women I told you about, while you're chatting, tell her she is very maganda. Maganda is spelled M-A-G-A-N-D-A. That is a huge compliment in Tagalog. You're telling her she is very beautiful. That's about all the time we have for this week, but stay tuned for the next episode. And if you have not done so, check out our YouTube channel to get the direct link to our home on Facebook. Either Google or search in YouTube, Lost and Found in the Philippines YouTube. All right, everyone. Stay safe. Stay healthy. God bless. And remember, it may be fun in Vegas. It might be fun in Hawaii. It could be fun in the Bahamas. But it will always be more fun in the Philippines.
Thanks for listening to Lost and Found in the Philippines. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. If you like the show, leave a review and be sure to tell a friend. For even more, check out the Lost and Found in the Philippines YouTube channel.